The Galactic Military Academy stood on a moon with no name. It floated in the cold darkness of space, far from any sun. The buildings were tall and made of black metal. Thousands of cadets from hundreds of different planets came here every year. They came to learn. They came to become soldiers. But first, they had to pass the test. The fear extraction machine sat in the deepest part of the academy. It was old. Some said it was 3,000 years old. Others said it was older than that. Nobody knew who built it or how it worked. They only knew what it did. The machine could look inside any mind. It could find the one thing that scared you most. It could pull that fear out and show it to everyone. Every cadet had to face the machine. There were no exceptions. Stood in the long line of cadets waiting for her turn. She was from a water world called Bellows. Her skin was pale blue and her eyes were large and dark. She had small fins behind her ears. On her planet, she was considered brave. Here, standing in this line, she felt like a small child. The cadet in front of her was shaking. He was a tall creature with 4 arms and fur. His name was Kel, and he came from a planet of hunters. Had seen him fight in training. He was strong and fast. But now, waiting for the machine, he looked afraid. "I heard the machine made someone go crazy last year," Kel whispered. His voice was rough and low. "They saw their fear and never recovered." Did not answer. She did not want to think about that. The line moved forward. One by one, cadets entered the testing room. One by one, they came out looking pale and tired. Some cried. Some just stared at nothing. A few had to be carried out by medical staff. Commander watched everything from his platform above. He was old, even by galactic standards. His species lived for 500 years, and he had used most of those years serving in the military. His body was covered in hard, brown scales. His eyes were yellow and sharp. Nothing escaped his attention. Next, the computer announced. Kel walked forward. His 4 hands were making fists. He entered the testing room and the door closed behind him. Could hear the machine starting up. It made a deep humming sound that she could feel in her chest. 3 minutes passed. The door opened. Kel walked out slowly. His fur was wet with sweat. His eyes were wide and empty. "Fear identified," the computer said. "Subject Kel, species. Primary fear, abandonment, fear of being left alone by pack members." Kel did not react to the words. He just kept walking until a medical officer guided him to a recovery area. Felt her heart beating fast. It was almost her turn. But then she noticed something. At the very end of the line, standing alone, was a figure she had not seen before. It was a human, the only human at the academy this year. Humans were rare in the galactic community. Their planet had only made contact with other species 30 years ago. They were still new to everything: space travel, alien cultures, galactic politics. Most species did not think much of them. Humans were soft. They had no claws, no scales, no natural weapons. They lived short lives. They seemed ordinary. This human was a female. She was not tall. Her hair was black and cut short. Her skin was a warm brown color. She wore the same uniform as everyone else. Her name tag said, YUNA. Watched carefully. Most cadets in line looked nervous. They moved around. They whispered to each other. They checked and rechecked their uniforms, but did none of these things. She just stood there, calm and still, looking at nothing in particular. Strange thought. Next, the computer called. It was turn. She walked into the testing room. The door closed behind her with a heavy sound. The room was small and dark. In the center was a chair made of metal and wires. Above the chair hung the machine, a large sphere covered in lights and sensors. "Please sit," a voice said. Sat in the chair. Metal bands wrapped around her wrists and ankles. She could not move. The machine came down slowly. It stopped just above her head. The lights began to blink. The humming grew louder. Closed her eyes. She felt something cold in her mind. It was like fingers made of ice searching through her memories. She saw her childhood. She saw her family. She saw the deep waters of her home planet. Then she saw it, the thing she feared most. Darkness, complete and total darkness. The darkness of the deep ocean where no light could reach. The darkness where monsters lived. The darkness where she had almost drowned when she was 7 years old. She screamed. When she opened her eyes, she was outside the testing room. She did not remember walking out. A medical officer was giving her water. Her hands were shaking. Fear identified, she heard the computer say. Subject species. Primary fear, complete darkness. Fear of deep water environments without light. Drank the water slowly. She felt tired, so very tired. From her seat in the recovery area, she watched the other cadets take their turns. Each one came out looking broken. Each one had their deepest fear announced to everyone. Finally, there was only one cadet left. Yes. Commander leaned forward on his platform. Even he seemed curious about the human. Next, the computer said. Walked forward. Her steps were calm and even. She did not look nervous. She did not look scared. She looked like someone going for a simple walk. She entered the testing room. The door closed. Watched the door, she waited. Everyone waited. 1 minute passed, then 2, then 3. The machine's humming sound grew louder. Then it made a strange noise, a sound like something breaking. The lights in the hallway flickered. Commander stood up from his seat. His yellow eyes were wide. The door to the testing room opened. Walked out. She looked exactly the same as before, calm, relaxed, maybe even a little bored. Behind her, the machine was making strange sounds. Warning lights were flashing. Everyone stared at the screen where fears were displayed. The screen flickered. It showed static. Then slowly words appeared. Fear status unidentified. Scan result error. Unable to process. The room was silent. Looked around at all the staring faces. She gave a small smile and shrugged her shoulders. Is something wrong? She asked. Nobody answered. Commander's voice cut through the silence like a knife. Get the engineers, now. The machine had worked perfectly for 3,000 years. It had never failed. It had scanned millions of minds from thousands of species. Until today, until it tried to scan a human. The engineers arrived within the hour. There were 5 of them, all from different species. They wore white coats and carried tools that had never seen before. Their faces were serious. They did not speak to anyone. They just walked straight into the testing room and closed the door. Commander ordered everyone to stay in the waiting area. Nobody was allowed to leave. The other cadets sat in small groups, whispering to each other. They kept looking at. Sat alone on a bench in the corner. She had taken out a small device and was reading something on it. She did not seem to notice all the eyes watching her. Or maybe she did not care. Could not stop thinking about what had happened. The machine had failed. It had never failed before. What was wrong with the human? What was she hiding? After 2 hours, the door to the testing room opened. The lead engineer walked out. He was a thin creature with 6 eyes and long fingers. His name was, and he was one of the beings in the galaxy. He looked confused. Had never seen him look confused before. Commander said, "We need to run the test again." Nodded slowly. Is the machine working? Yes, we checked everything. There is no damage, no errors in the system. The machine is working perfectly. Then why did it fail? 6 eyes blinked one by one. We do not know. That is why we need to test the human again. Everyone looked at. She put away her device and stood up. Her face showed no emotion. Okay, she said simply, I can do it again. She walked back into the testing room. The engineers followed her. The door closed. This time moved closer. She stood near the door trying to hear what was happening inside. She was not the only one. Kel and several other cadets gathered nearby. They could hear the machine starting up. The humming was normal at first, Then it grew louder and louder. The floor began to shake slightly. Then came the sound, a high-pitched whine like metal being bent too far. Warning alarms began to ring. The door burst open. The engineers ran out, their faces full of fear. "Shut it down," screamed. "Shut it down now." The machine made one final sound, a deep groan, and then went silent. The lights stopped flashing. The alarm stopped ringing. Walked out of the room slowly. She was rubbing her temples like she had a small headache. "That was louder than before," she said quietly. Commander stepped down from his platform. He walked toward until he was standing right in front of her. He was much taller than her. His yellow eyes looked down at her face, searching for something. "What are you?" he asked. Looked up at him. She did not step back. She did not look away. "I am a human," she said. "From Earth. My name is, I am 23 years old. I like reading and cooking. Is there something else you want to know?" His jaw tightened. The machine has scanned beings from over 8,000 different species. It has never failed, not once. But when it tries to scan you, it breaks. Why? "I do not know," said. "Maybe it is old. Maybe it needs repairs. The engineers say it is working perfectly." "Then maybe the problem is not the machine." "What do you mean?" Was quiet for a moment. She seemed to be thinking about how to explain something difficult. "On Earth," she said slowly, "we have many different fears, not just one. We are afraid of many things: death, pain, losing the people we love, being alone, being forgot, failing, the dark, the unknown, high places, small spaces, deep water, fire, sickness, war." She paused. "We are afraid of the past. We are afraid of the future. We are afraid of ourselves." The room was completely silent. Everyone was listening. "Maybe," continued, "your machine is looking for one fear, one main fear, but humans do not have just one fear. We have hundreds, thousands, all at the same time, all mixed together. Maybe the machine cannot choose just one. Maybe that is why it fails." Stared at her for a long time. "That is impossible," he finally said. "No being can function with that many fears. The mind would break. The body would shut down." Smiled. It was a small, sad smile. "Humans break all the time, Commander. We just keep going anyway." Before could respond, stepped forward. "Commander, I need to report to High Command about this. They will want to send specialists." Nodded without looking away from. "Do it." That night could not sleep. She lay in her small bed in the cadet dormitory, staring at the ceiling. She kept thinking about what it said. Hundreds of fears, thousands, all at the same time. How was that possible? Had one fear, darkness, and it was enough to make her scream. How could anyone live with thousands of fears inside them? She got out of bed and walked to the common room. She expected it to be empty, but it was not. Was there, sitting by the window, looking out at the stars. Hesitated at the door. She did not know if she should stay or go, but then turned and saw her. "Cannot sleep?" asked. Shook her head. "No, you." "I sleep very little, a human thing." Walked closer. She sat down on a chair near. For a moment neither of them spoke. "Can I ask you something?" finally said. "Yes." "What you said before, about having many fears, is that true? Do humans really fear so many things?" Turned back to the window. Her eyes reflected the distant stars. "Yes," she said, "it is true. From the moment we are born, we start collecting fears. Fear of pain, fear of hunger, fear of being alone. As we grow older, we collect more. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of not being good enough. By the time we are adults, we carry so many fears that we cannot count them." "But how do you live like that? How do you function?" Was quiet for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was soft. "We learn to live with them. We learn to carry them. Every day we wake up afraid. Every day we go forward anyway. We work, we fight, we love, we build, all while being afraid." She looked at. "Maybe that is the human secret. We are not brave because we have no fear. We are brave because we are always afraid and we still choose to act. Did not know what to say. She had always thought courage meant having no fear. She had never considered that courage could mean being afraid and acting anyway. Outside the window, the stars burned in the darkness. Somewhere out there, ships were fighting. Wars were being won and lost. Empires were rising and falling. And here, on this small moon, a human girl with thousands of fears sat calmly, looking at the universe like it was just another thing to face. Tomorrow, the specialists from High Command would arrive. They would have more tests, more questions. But tonight sat within the silence, and she began to understand something important. Humans were not weak. They were not ordinary. They were something else entirely. The specialists arrived the next morning. Their ship was black and had no markings. It landed on the Academy's main platform without making a sound. That kind of technology was rare. That kind of silence meant power. 3 figures stepped out of the ship. They wore long coats the color of night. Their faces were hidden behind masks. Nobody knew what species they were. Nobody asked. Commander met them at the platform, watched from a window on the 3rd floor. She saw bow his head, something she had never seen him do before. These visitors were important, more important than a military commander. The Academy went on lockdown. All classes were canceled. All cadets were ordered to stay in their rooms. Armed guards stood at every door and every corner. Shared a room with 3 other cadets. They spent the day talking about what was happening. Everyone had theories. Some said the specialists were from the intelligence division. Others said they were from the Science Council. A few whispered that they were from the Shadow Bureau, a secret group that answered only to the Galactic Senate. They are going to take the human away, Kel said. He was sitting on his bed, his 4 arms crossed over his chest. They will study her, find out what is wrong with her brain. Maybe nothing is wrong with her brain, said quietly. Everyone looked at her. What do you mean? Another cadet asked. Her name was Lyra. She was small, with bright green skin and large ears. I talked to her last night, said. The human. She told me about humans, about how they have many fears, not just one. That sounds crazy, Kel said. Maybe, but the machine could not read her. Maybe it is because there was too much to read. Kel shook his head. One mind, one fear. That is how it works for every species. The human is broken somehow, or she is lying. Did not argue, but she did not agree either. That evening, a guard came to their room. The one called, "You are wanted for questioning." His heart stopped, questioning why her. She followed the guard through empty hallways. The academy felt like a ghost building. All the usual noise, talking, laughing, footsteps, was gone. There was only silence. The guard brought her to a room she had never seen before. It was deep underground. The walls were white and had no windows. In the center of the room was a single table with 2 chairs. One of the masked specialists sat in one chair. Could not see their face, but she could feel their eyes on her. Sit, the specialist said. Their voice was strange, neither male nor female, neither high nor low. It was like the voice of a machine. Sat down. Her hands were shaking under the table. You spoke with the human last night, the specialist said. It was not a question. Yes. What did you talk about? Told them everything. The conversation by the window, what it said about human fears, the idea that humans carried thousands of fears at once. The specialist listened without moving. When finished, there was a long silence. Interesting, the specialist finally said. You may go. That was it, no more questions, no explanation, just silence and then dismissal. Stood up and walked to the door, but before she left, she turned back. What are you going to do to her? She asked. The specialist tilted their head slightly. We are going to learn. The next 3 days were strange. The specialists ran test after test on. They used machines that nobody recognized. They asked questions for hours. They took samples of her blood, her hair, her tears. Went through all of it without complaint. She answered every question honestly. She let them take whatever they needed. She never got angry. She never cried. Watched from a distance whenever she could. She did not know why she felt connected to the human. Maybe it was that conversation by the window. Maybe it was something else. On the third night, found alone again. This time was sitting in the training room, looking at the fighting dummies. "Are you okay?" asked. Turned to look at her. There were dark circles under her eyes. She had not been sleeping. "Yes," said, "I am fine. They are testing you like you are some kind of specimen. That is what I am to them, something strange, something they do not understand." Sat down next to her. "Does it not make you angry?" Thought about this. No, they are afraid. When people are afraid, they try to understand. When they cannot understand, they study. It is their way of feeling safe. "What about you? Are you not afraid of what they might do?" Smiled. It was a tired smile. "Of course I am afraid. I am afraid they will hurt me. I am afraid they will keep me here forever. I am afraid I will never see my home again." She looked at, "But I was already afraid of many things before this. What is a few more fears? My fear bag is already full. A few more will not make a difference." Did not understand. Fear bag. It is what my grandmother used to say. Every person carries a bag of fears. Some people have small bags, some have big bags. Humans have very big bags. We carry them everywhere we go. We learn to walk with them, run with them, fight with them. She stood up and stretched her arms. "The specialists want to know my greatest fear. They do not understand that I do not have one. I have hundreds, maybe thousands. They are all mixed together. Darkness, death, failure, pain, loneliness, losing control, losing myself." She turned to face fully. "I fear what they are doing to me, but I also fear what will happen if I show weakness. I fear being seen as a monster, but I also fear being seen as nothing. I fear tomorrow. I fear yesterday. I fear this very moment." Her eyes were bright in the dim room. "And yet here I am, standing, breathing, talking to you. That is what humans do. We feel all the fear and we keep standing." Stood up too. She walked closer to until they were face to face. "Tell me something true," said. "Are you hiding something? Is there a secret you are not telling them?" Looked at her for a long moment. Then she reached out and took his hand. Her fingers were warm. "The only secret," said quietly, "is that there is no secret. Humans are exactly what we appear to be, small, weak, full of fear, and somehow impossible to break." She squeezed his hand gently. "Your machine looks for the biggest fear, the one that controls everything else. But humans do not work that way. Our fears do not control us. We control them. We put them in our bag and carry them with us. They make us heavy, but they also make us strong. Every fear we carry is a battle we have fought. Every fear we still carry is proof that we survived." She let go of his hand and walked toward the door. "Tell them that," said without looking back. "Tell them the truth. Humans are not broken. We are just built different." And then she was gone, leaving alone in the training room with a feeling she could not name. It felt like the beginning of understanding. On the seventh day, the specialists called a meeting. Everyone came, commander, the engineers, the medical staff, and all the cadets. They gathered in the main hall, the largest room in the academy. It could hold 5,000 beings. Today, it felt small. The three masked specialists stood on the central platform. Behind them, a large screen showed complex graphs and numbers. Stood off to the side, alone as always. She looked calm but noticed that her hands were clasped tightly behind her back. The lead specialist stepped forward. When they spoke, their voice filled the entire hall. 7 days ago, the fear extraction machine failed for the first time in 3,000 years. It failed when testing a human subject. We were sent to find out why. The hall was silent. Everyone held their breath. Our investigation is complete. We have the answer. The screen behind them changed. It showed a picture of a brain, a human brain. Every species in the known galaxy has a fear hierarchy, the specialist continued. At the top of this hierarchy is the primary fear, the one fear that controls all other fears, the one fear that defines the being. Our machine is designed to find this primary fear. It has always worked, until now. The screen changed again. This time it showed what looked like a storm. Colors and lights swirled together in chaos. This is a scan of the human's mind during the first test. What you are seeing is not an error. It is accurate. This is what human fear looks like. Murmurs spread through the crowd, heard gasps and confused whispers. Human minds do not have a fear hierarchy, the specialist said. They have a fear network. Thousands of fears, all connected, all active, all the time. There is no primary fear because every fear is equal. Every fear is present. Commander stepped forward. That should be impossible. A mind cannot function under that kind of pressure. You are correct, it should be impossible. And yet, the specialist gestured toward, here she stands, healthy, functional, sane. The second specialist stepped forward. Their voice was deeper, rougher. We ran 412 tests on the human subject. Brain scans, stress tests, psychological evaluations. The results were consistent. The human carries approximately 3,000 active fears in her conscious mind at any given moment. The number hung in the air like a bomb. 3,000. Felt dizzy. She had one fear, darkness, and it had made her scream in the machine. This human walked around with 3,000 fears every single day. That is not all, the second specialist continued. We discovered something even more unusual. These fears are not suppressed, they are not hidden, they are not controlled by medication or mental training, they are simply present. The human feels all of them all the time, and she continues to function. How? Someone shouted from the crowd. How is that possible? The third specialist stepped forward. This one was smaller than the others, with a voice that sounded almost kind. We asked the human the same question. Her answer was simple. She said, "You learn to live with it." We did not understand at first, so we studied more. We looked at human history, human culture, human biology. The screen changed to show images. Humans building cities, humans fighting wars, humans exploring oceans and mountains and space itself. Humans evolved on a death world, the specialist said. Their planet is covered in predators, diseases, natural disasters, and environmental dangers. For millions of years, humans survived by being afraid. Fear kept them alive. Fear made them careful. Fear made them plan for the worst. More images, humans farming, humans making tools, humans sailing ships across dark oceans. But fear alone is not enough for survival. A being that is only afraid will freeze. It will hide. It will die. Humans did something different. They learned to act despite their fear. They learned to move forward while being afraid. They turned fear from a weakness into a tool. The screen went dark. The specialist's words echoed in the silence. That is why our machine failed. It was looking for a primary fear to isolate. But human fears do not isolate. They blend together. They support each other. They create a foundation of constant awareness. When the machine tried to separate one fear from the rest, it could not. There were too many connections, too many layers. The system overloaded. Commander spoke again. His voice was quieter now. Are you saying that humans are better than us, that their fear makes them stronger? The lead specialist turned to face him. We are saying that humans are different. Every species in the galaxy has evolved to minimize fear. We push it away. We bury it. We pretend it does not exist. Humans did the opposite. They embraced their fear. They built their entire civilization on it. They turned to face the crowd. Consider this, every great human achievement was born from fear. They feared hunger, so they invented farming. They feared cold, so they built shelters. They feared distance, so they created vehicles. They feared death, so they developed medicine. They feared the unknown, so they explored everything. The screen lit up again. This time it showed face during the tests. In every image she looked calm, focused, unbroken. This human has 3,000 fears. She has fear of death, fear of pain, fear of failure, fear of being alone, fear of heights and depths and dark spaces, fear of losing her loved ones, fear of being forgotten, fear of not being enough. The specialist paused, and she still volunteered to come here. She still passed every training exercise. She still faced our tests without complaint. She carried all her fears with her and she kept walking forward. Silence filled the hall. Looked at, for the first time, she did not see a strange, small human. She saw something else, something that had no name, something that carried the weight of 3,000 fears and still stood straight. The lead specialist spoke one final time. Our recommendation to High Command is as follows. Do not fear the humans. Do not underestimate them. They are not strong despite their fears. They are strong because of them. Every fear they carry is fuel for their determination. Every terror they face makes them more resolved. They turned to look at. The machine tested this cadet's fear and printed only unidentified. But we now understand what that means. It does not mean she has no fear. It means she has all the fears, every single one, and she carries them all. Finally stepped forward. She looked out at the thousands of beings staring at her, and she smiled, not a proud smile, not a scared smile, but the smile of someone who had finally been understood. I am afraid of all of you, she said simply. I am afraid of this place. I am afraid of what comes next, but fear has never stopped a human before, and it will not stop me. She raised her chin. My name is, I carry 3,000 fears, and I am ready to begin my training. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Commander did something nobody expected. He brought his fist to his chest, the highest salute of respect in the military. Welcome to the Academy, Cadet. One by one, the other cadets followed, fists to chests, 1,000 salutes for a single human. Raised her own fist to her chest and smiled. She had learned something important that day. Courage was not the absence of fear. Courage was carrying all your fears with you and moving forward anyway. Humans had known this all along. Now, the galaxy was beginning to learn. 2 years passed. The Galactic Military Academy changed. It started small. The fear extraction machine was moved from the deepest level to a museum. Commander announced that it would no longer be used for testing cadets. Instead, a new program was introduced, Fear Integration Training. The goal was not to find fear and expose it. The goal was to learn to live with it. Helped design the program. She worked with the specialists and the psychologists. She taught classes. She trained instructors. She showed aliens from hundreds of species how humans manage their fears. You cannot kill fear, she told her students on the first day. You cannot run from it. You cannot hide from it. Fear is part of you. It will always be part of you. The only choice you have is how you carry it. At first, the other species struggled. They had spent their whole lives trying to eliminate fear. The idea of accepting it, of living with it, felt wrong, dangerous, impossible. But slowly, things began to change. Kel was one of the first to understand. His primary fear was abandonment. For years, he had pushed it away, pretended it did not exist. In fear integration training, he learned to face it directly. I am afraid of being left behind, he told his group one day. His 4 hands were shaking, but his voice was steady. I am afraid my pack will forget me. I am afraid I am not important. Nobody laughed, nobody judged, they just listened. But I am here, Kel continued. I am still here. I have been afraid for my entire life and I am still standing. Maybe that means something. Maybe that means the fear did not win. Watched from the back of the room, she had her own fears to face. The darkness still scared her. The deep water still made her heart race. But she was learning to carry those fears with her instead of running from them. After class, she found sitting on the Academy's observation deck. The stars stretched out in every direction, endless and beautiful. "The program is working," said, sitting down next to her. "People are changing." Nodded slowly, but yes, they are learning. "How does it feel to know you changed everything?" Laughed softly. "I did not change anything. I just showed them what humans already knew. The rest was up to them." "You are too humble." "I am realistic. Humans are not special, we are just stubborn. We refuse to let fear stop us. That is not courage, that is just habit." Shook her head. "No, it is more than habit. I have watched you for 2 years. You are afraid every day. I can see it in your eyes, but you never stop. You never slow down. You carry your fear like it is nothing. That is not habit, that is strength." Was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was softer than usual. "On Earth there is a story about fear, an old story. It says that fear is not the enemy. Fear is a messenger. It tells you what matters. It tells you what you care about. If you fear losing something, it means that thing is important to you. If you fear failing, it means you want to succeed." She looked at, "I fear many things. I fear death because I love life. I fear loneliness because I value connection. I fear failure because I want to make a difference. My fears tell me who I am. They remind me what I am fighting for." She pointed at the stars. "Out there, wars are being fought, people are dying, empires are falling. There is so much to fear, but there is also so much to love, so much to protect, so much to build." Her eyes were bright with something, tears maybe, or just reflected starlight. "I carry my fears because they remind me why I keep going. Every fear is a reason to fight. Every terror is a promise to myself that I will not give up." News of the Academy's new program spread across the galaxy. Other military schools sent observers. Scientists wrote papers. Politicians gave speeches. The phrase fear integration became famous. And everywhere, people started to look at humans differently. Before, humans were seen as weak, small, fragile, a young species with no natural weapons and short lives, not worth paying attention to. Now they were seen as something else. Survivors, fighters, beings who carried more fear than anyone else and still refused to break. Human soldiers became highly sought after, not because they were the strongest or the fastest but because they never gave up. They never froze. They faced impossible situations and kept moving forward. "Humans do not know when to stop," an alien general once said. "They should break, they should fall, but they just keep coming. It is like fighting the tide." At the academy, graduated at the top of her class. Commander personally gave her the highest honor, the Star of Valor. It was only the third time in history that a cadet had received it. "You came here as an unknown," said during the ceremony. "A small human from a young planet, you leave here as a legend. You have taught us more than we ever taught you." Accepted the medal with her usual calm smile, but later that night found her crying in the observation deck. "What is wrong?" asked, sitting beside her. "Nothing is wrong," said, wiping her eyes. "I am just afraid." "Afraid of what?" "Everything, the future, the past, what comes next, what I might become, what I might lose." She laughed through her tears. "The usual human fears." Put her arm around shoulders. It was a strange gesture for her species, but she had learned it from the human. It felt right. "Then we will face them together," said. "I will carry my fears, you will carry yours, and we will keep walking forward. That is what you taught me." Leaned against her friend. "Yes," she whispered, "that is exactly right." They sat together in the silence, two beings from different worlds looking out at the infinite darkness of space. There were monsters out there, wars and disasters and tragedies waiting to happen. There was so much to fear. But there was also friendship, hope, the warm presence of someone who understood. The fear extraction machine had tried to find greatest fear and failed. It had printed unidentified because it could not understand what it was seeing. But now, after 2 years, the galaxy finally understood. Humans were not unidentified, they were unbreakable. Not because they lacked fear, but because they had so much fear and they carried it all, and they never stopped moving forward. That was the human secret. That was the human strength. Fear was not their weakness. Fear was their fuel. And as long as they had something to fear, they would have something to fight for. Stood up and offered her hand too, ready to graduate. Took her hand and stood, ready. Together they walked toward the future. Together they faced the unknown. Two cadets, two species, one simple truth. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is fear that has learned to walk.